Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. For today's video, we continue the Hellraiser movie review franchise with the next installment, Hellraiser 8, Hellworld. So let's get into it here. So for me, after watching the last three movies, I kind of was just getting frustrated with this franchise, I'll be honest with you. But then coming to find out that Henry Cavill's in this, it's based on like a video game sort of aspect, I sort of was a bit lifted. So I was going into this with a little bit of high spirits, knowing that it's not a psychological type thriller. So let's get into this review here. So with the opening sequences, you've got these young people playing this Hellraiser video game based on everything that's taken place in the previous movies there. But however, this one kid is just so obsessed with this movie, he ends up committing suicide. And so then at the funeral of this character called Adam, the remaining 5 friends are blaming themselves, feel like they should have been there more, and just really like upset with the circumstances here. So then you cut to 2 years later, all these characters get invited to this private party called Hellworld Party, which they win the invitation by playing the video game of Hellraiser. So as they're attending this party, you've got the 5 characters. You've got Henry Cavill, you've got the one with the inhaler who's got asthma, you've got the female character, and then you've got Chelsea, who's just sort of reluctant but is being there for her friends, and then you've got Jake, who's only there because he met a female online hoping to meet her. So these 5 characters are there, they're in the party. They get introduced to the host of this party, this middle-aged man, who gives them a tour, takes them around, shows them like the basement with like these babies in containers, and like you see Hellraiser memorabilia all around. You see the element configuration in the thing. I really like the designs and the aspects of the movie and the mansion in itself. So as he's like doing this, he's giving the tour, he like gives drinks to some of them. One of the cards has like ink that gets rubbed on like I believe it was Henry Cavill, and at one point he just like pokes one of the Chelsea character in her arm, just doing these weird things to these characters there. So then he basically informs them that everybody gets a phone, this Nokia brick phone, and that's how they communicate with the other guests. So like the movie's progressing, you see each character going off doing their own thing. You've got Henry Cavill having a good time with one of the these characters, where you come to find out that she's actually a Cenobite, but he's having a good time with her. You see one of the characters dancing and losing his inhaler basically, but we'll get to all of that very soon. And you've got like the female character. So basically the movie's progressing, everybody's doing their own thing, but they do start getting killed off like slowly one by one. So with the inhaler character, the asthma character, he's on the dance floor, he's dancing with this girl, he loses his inhaler, it goes all the way to like the basement, and in the basement is where he like tries to unscrew like the vent to get his inhaler, only for like Pinhead to appear and just chop his head off. And then you also got like one of the female characters, she's in this empty room where she just sits on this chair and like she gets tied up, and then this like machinery comes in and starts like chopping her throat off basically, and the host is there with Pinhead also there as well. So these weird like elements there. And then you've got Henry Cavill coming in, he's like having a good time with this female character who ends up pushing him into the room where his friend's head got chopped off. You see him confronting with like Pinhead, and then this hook thingy comes in and just kills him from the back, having him just hooked there. So Henry Cavill is dead, and while these 3 are getting killed off, you see Chelsea basically being locked in the room. She's calling the police, and the police arrive there. She's saying that she's in the window, but like the police look up and nobody's there in the window whatsoever. This Jake character is also like having a good time with this female character, but then she ends up just disappearing. So these very weird like moments and scenes throughout the movie. But then as you get towards like the 3rd act, you see Chelsea and Jake using the phones to communicate with one another, thinking also that they're like messing with each other, coming to find out that they need to work together. I like that little line that Chelsea throws in there about how Hellraiser works, about how you have to open up the box, Pinhead then appears. So I like that little line there, sort of like a reference to like how the Scream movie works. But then we come to find out, like, Chelsea finds this picture of Adam, the boy who committed suicide in the beginning of the movie, with the host of the movie. So you kind of put two and two together. You come to realize that the host is sort of like acting out on revenge and taking out these people for like what happened to his son. I'll be honest, I did not get that clued in whatsoever, so it did come as a bit of a surprise to me. But then he sort of just reveals that like everybody, all of them have been drugged when they entered the party, whether it was through that card ink, drinking, being pinned like on the arm and that kind of stuff. So like everybody got drugged and then they were buried alive in a casket, coffin, underground, and then these characters started just killing themselves off. So the character with the inhaler, he died because of his asthma. Henry Cavill died of just sheer fear, which just cracks me up because he's supposed to be Superman, so just him dying of fear, just, it's a nice irony there. And then that other character, she sort of just clawed her throat, which just is so brutal. But then the thing with this movie is that like they sort of take back everything with these two characters, because all of a sudden the police arrive, they take them both out of the coffins there because a unanimous person called them, but we don't know who it is. So it could have been like the boy that died in the beginning of the movie, it could have been somebody else, like you just don't know. They don't really like give you any clues to it, but then they manage to survive basically. And so then as we get to like the end of the movie, you see the host is in this room, in his hotel room with lament configuration. He opens up the box for Pinhead and the Cenobites to appear, and they just start chopping him up for torturing these kids basically, and that's like the end of the movie. So for me, it's definitely a huge step up from the last three movies. I enjoyed the aspect of like the Hellraiser type video game and all of that celebrating Hellraiser, but then it's sort of, the ending just kind of like, they took a step back because you have these two victims surviving, but you don't give any clues into like who called or anything like that. But for me, it was definitely a fun movie, a definitely improvement since like the first four. It was such a downslope with the next three, but then this sort of like lifts it up a little bit. So Hellraiser 8 is definitely a good fun watch. I really enjoyed this movie. It was really fun, and it was also great to see Henry Cavill just as like a younger version of himself. So for me, I definitely recommend this one. Do not watch the previous three. If you're going to watch Hellraiser 1 to 4 and then watch this one afterwards, skip the other three. But this is my thoughts and my opinions of the movie in itself. If you enjoyed the review, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because I've got the last three Hellraiser reviews coming out too, and plus the tier ranking video. So keep an eye out on the channel there and subscribe so that you don't miss out on the videos. But again, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for listening. This is YK Reviews,